the little record company that I formed with my partner Bill Sherman, called Valiant Records, turned out to be a fairly successful little independent record company. And I had discovered a group called the Coast End Lighters from San Diego. And I thought they had a lot of talent, so we were at my house for the whole week, day after day, working on songs and rehearsing, and I was trying to come up with a name for the group. And I washed so many coffee cups in that week that I picked up this box of dishwashing soap and it said Cascade. And I said, hey, I got the name, the Cascades. And so the Coast End Lighters became the Cascades. Now, Johnny Gummel, the lead singer, had a song called Rhythm of the Rain that was not finished, and he said, Barry, would you like to work with me on this song? You know, I think it has possibilities. And I said, I think it does. And so we worked on it, worked it up, and it turned out pretty darn good. I never took writer credit because, gosh, we published the group. I was the producer of the group. It was on my record label. I thought it would be kind of greedy of me to take writing too, so I didn't do it. Anyway, we set up a studio date to record Rhythm of the Rain and one other cut, which I forget. It was at the famous Gold Star Recording Studios, and there I was with Stan Ross waiting for the group to arrive. And what arrived instead was a telegram from their manager saying that they wanted to be off the label and that they were not going to show up for the recording session. I was shocked, and I had all these musicians. I was in the studio. I didn't really understand why he did this, but I had no choice but to go forward and cut the tracks. So I went and cut the tracks, and the next day I called this guy, and I said, hey, what's the problem here? Well, I had released a record on this group about 2 months before that. And he says, well, I don't think we got a fair count on the sales on that first record. And I said, you're wrong. You know, we're distributed by Warner Brothers. Now you just stay on the phone, and I'm going to connect you to the head of sales at Warner Brothers. And I want you to ask him how many records that song sold. I think it was called There's a Reason. And he did. And of course, that was what it sold. I mean, he was completely wrong, you know. And he said, well, all right, but I'm not comfortable here on Valiant, and I really want to move the group off. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I don't want anyone on my record company that isn't happy to be on my record company. But I have an investment in this group now. I went in and cut those two sides. Here's what I want you to do. You let the boys come into the studio. I'll put the vocals over the tracks. And if Rhythm of the Rain isn't a hit in 4 months, you're off the label. If it's a hit, I'm going to hold you to your contract. He said, done. So the boys came in, we recorded the song, I loved it. I added a little thunder and rain at the beginning of the record, and we put it out. Well, the rest is history. It was a huge success, big hit record, and so I'm a happy camper, you know. I knew it was a hit. I knew the group had potential, and so then we released we did an album and released the second single. Well, I heard from a guy from Liberty, Snuff Garrett, and he said, hey Barry, this guy has been coming around telling me that the Cascades are available and he wants to sign them to Liberty. I thought you guys had them under contract. Well, I said, Snuff, this is news to me. I talked to my partner, and he had overlooked a very critical option date. And this manager, I'm going to leave him unnamed, took advantage of that. He had overlooked picking up the option, and without saying a word to us, was shopping the group elsewhere. Well, it was heartbreaking because I had created this group, and I really felt, and you know something, the guys were good guys. They had a bad manager and they listened to him. So the wind-up is I went down to Palm Springs and spent a week writing. And that was my family home at the time. And I called my partner. I said, Bill, I just wrote a hit for the Cascades called I Wonder What She's Doing Tonight. So, man, yeah, I'm excited about it. He says, well, I've got good news for you. He says, I talked to the manager and he said they're coming back. And I said, great. Well, they never came back. They signed with RCA Victor, and that was the end of that story. That was very disappointing, and I was very disappointed in them for doing that. Anyway, they never had another hit. You know, RCA, whoever they worked with didn't work with them the way I did, and so nothing ever happened to them. But now I had this song, you know, that I had done a demo on for the Cascades. So my partner says, you know something? I like that. Why don't we just release your demo? I said, are you crazy? He said, no. I said, well, I got to go back in the studio. I spent 2 weeks adding things, remixing, we wound up releasing the first mix on the demo. And I met with this manager of the Cascades, and we were wrapping things up. And I said, let me tell you something. You remember a title, I Wonder What She's Doing Tonight. That song was written for the Cascades. I recorded it. Just remember that title. I'm putting the record out with Barry and the Tamerlanes. That could have been the Cascades. And that's what I did. I created this fake group, Barry and the Tamerlanes. We put out I Wonder What She's Doing Tonight, and guess what? It was a hit. So, there you go. Barry and the Tamerlanes recently was released on One Hit Wonders album. It was our one and only hit, but it was a hit nevertheless.